Vladimir Putin has ruled Russia for nearly 2.5 decades.
Кто-то попадает в зависимость от табака, кто-то от наркотиков, кто-то становится зависимым от денег. Говорят, что самая большая зависимость от власти.
In Russia's March 15 to 17 presidential election, he is poised to secure another 6-year term in office. The Russian opposition has been all but silenced. At age 71, Putin tightly controls his country after 24 years in power.
One of the dangers of being in power for so long is that we've seen this for sure with President Putin, that his inner circle has narrowed.
Kenneth DeCleva is a psychiatrist who has helped profile world leaders for the U.S. government.
We look at the brain functioning of someone who's been in power for decades. We look at how they make decisions. There is some literature in the study of leadership psychology that suggests that aging leaders that their thinking, their cognitive style may become more rigid as they age. And this may be more accelerated in authoritarian societies.
On the eve of Russia's 2022 full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Putin gathered his top security officials to rubber stamp his plan to take the neighboring country by force.
Мы собрались с вами для того, чтобы обсудить ситуацию, которая складывается сегодня на Донбассе.
There's much more tendency now toward groupthink and toward confirmation biases where those surrounding Putin tell him what he wants to hear rather than what he needs to hear. And this really came out in that famous meeting that was televised when the war in Ukraine started with his whole National Security Council and him sitting apart from them, where he really just wanted validation.
Поддерживаю предложение. Так и скажите, да или нет? Поддерживаю предложение.
Any attempt at even asking a question or criticism led to a public humiliation, as we saw with Sergei Narishkin, the head of the SVR, made a comment or question, and he was very publicly humiliated on international TV by President Putin.
Without any dissenting views, a leader can more easily make miscalculations. Some critics have called Putin's invasion of Ukraine a strategic overreach based on bad intelligence.
When one has been given more power than one is capable of handling, then it has very dangerous ramifications in that one's expectations will balloon into a kind of megalomania. And because these are pathological drives, they don't come from a healthy place.
In Russia, Vladimir Putin's reign has been defined by an increasingly brutal repression of the Russian opposition.
In a frantic attempt to try to fulfill these unfulfillable, unrealistic expectations, one goes to extreme extents. In other words, to persecute others who may bring reality into the picture, to wage wars in order to distract and to devastate population.
After Putin launched the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Kremlin leader's crackdown on dissent reached unprecedented levels.
For the leader to desire that level of power instead of sharing it or delegating it or even becoming tired of it, then one might say that there is a higher likelihood of something, some impairment being there, that it's either overcompensation for inner feelings of lack or a kind of aggression in terms of a need to control.
With Putin poised to have a 5th term in office, he could be in power until at least 2030, or a full 3 decades of rule. As he approaches his 80s, Putin may tighten his grip on Russia further, with some psychological assessments expecting the aging leader to only become more rigid and isolated.